Hey there, it's me again, Mr. Ng, JPJC. Okay, so for today's session, we are going to look at the part two of the oil crisis. Primarily, I'll be dealing with improper financial recycling and stagflation as the outcome of the oil crisis. And then at the end of the lesson, I will share a joke with you, to actually look at the concept of historical significance. Okay, so let's have a look at the framework for analyzing how bad a problem is. Okay, so when you look at the problems of the global economy, of which we have experienced the oil crisis so far, eventually we will go on to look at the debt crisis and protectionism. So this set of questions is useful for these three problems that are in our syllabus. So ask yourself, did the oil crisis affect a big group of people? Did it affect the entire world, the entire global economy? Secondly, did it affect important groups of the world? Important here, for example, being the developed countries. Most of the global economy is actually made up of the developed countries. And as we will see later in the chapter on protectionism, quite a bit of trade actually takes place between the developed countries. For example, the US trades a lot with Japan. On the other hand, there's actually very little, for example, where Zimbabwe, a country in Africa, actually trades with the United States. The next one, would be is the problem life threatening? Did it threaten to upset the entire global economy, like the current COVID-19 virus, which is ongoing at this time of the recording? I hope that I hope that when future generations listen to this, COVID-19 is nothing but a distant memory. But if you really were to look at it, COVID-19 looks quite bad as compared to say the oil crisis. Did this problem take very long to resolve? Okay, is it a slow, painful kind of problem, or is it a short, sharp shock? Try saying short, sharp shock 10 times, before you go to sleep tonight. Now, was there actually a solution to the problem? Okay, and is actually the solution quite painful? Okay, and lastly, did this problem give rise to another problem? Okay, as we will see, within the three problems, this is quite unique to the oil crisis because it does result in the debt crisis of 1982. So as I was saying, we'll look at these two issues, improper financial recycling, and stagflation. Okay, let's look at improper financial recycling first. Okay, some technical terms that we need to take note of. Okay, so what is improper financial recycling as opposed to say proper financial recycling? You see, when country A buys buys products from country B, and then country B buys products from country A, what do we call it? You're right. Okay, we call it trade. Okay, yeah, and that is an example of financial recycling. Okay, I give you money for your goods, you give me money for my goods. Okay, so as a result of that, I always give you a chance to earn back your money. The problem with the oil crisis is actually that there was improper financial recycling of what came to be known as petrodollars. Petrodollars, very simply put, would be dollars that you earn through the sale of petroleum. Okay, so that's why it's called petrodollars. Now let's have a look at the next slide where we talk about how this financial recycling was actually improperly done. Okay, you see, the problem was that the Arab oil producers, within this period of time, 1974 to 77, after the first oil crisis, they held on to most of about not exactly most, but half of the world liquid currency reserves. So they had a lot of money. If you recall what happened, in our previous lecture, where we talked about in the very first year alone, $64 billion flowed into the treasuries of these oil producers. Now, at the end of the day, these countries are having not that many people in the first place. Okay, there was actually no way that they could finish spending. Okay, take for example, Okay, if you as an individual you receive a pay rise, okay, would you eat? Let's just say that your pay doubled. Okay, will you eat double the amount of potatoes now? Of course not. Okay, instead, what will you do? You will probably eat some more expensive form of potato. Okay, maybe you will eat Swiss rosti. Okay, which is actually very expensive at Marche. Okay, but my kids like it, so I'm going broke. Okay, yeah, I try to stop them, but my wife likes it as well. Okay, so someone please help me. All right. Similarly, okay, for example, okay, if your pay goes up by doubles again, you're not exactly going to you're not exactly going to drink double the amount of coffee, right? You will just probably increase the quality of coffee that you drink. Okay, maybe you drink kopi luwak, which is the most expensive coffee in the world. Okay, yeah, that's basically processed by civet cats. Okay, so yeah, it comes down to this. The Arab countries really couldn't finish spending because there's really a limit to how much okay they could spend. Okay, so what they did was that they invested in a commercial bank. Not exactly invested in commercial banks. Okay, what they did was that they deposited this money, okay, into commercial banks, and as a result, that it ended up in back to these industrialized countries. In any case, they did buy things from the U.S. and Western Europe. Okay, primarily things like, for example, weapon systems and all that. Okay, that they could at least provide, so they could modernize their militaries. Okay, but back to our banks. Okay, so these banks, what happens is that they made loans to the third world countries. Now, your developing oil importing countries, okay, needed to borrow to pay for their oil bills. Okay, so eventually, what happened here was whatever improper financial recycling that was done, mainly in 1973. Okay, 1979, it was serious in its own way, but most of the improper financial recycling, and that was actually recycled into debts. Okay, DEBTS. Okay, was actually done during this period. Okay, and it has the consequence of leading to the debt crisis. Okay, let's have a look now at what stagflation is and what is a black swan event. We will examine this in the next video.